Yo, 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 what up, YouTube Live? How's it going? Today is Sunday, February 21st. Let me double check if our live stream is currently on right now. Make sure that YouTube doesn't mess us up. Excuse me. Ooh. And it's the all new episode of The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead has returned. After what? How many months has it been? Quite a while. Probably since October. So, as you know, there are 6 extra episodes, I believe, of The Walking Dead Season 10. And then there's going to be The Walking Dead Season 11, which is the finale, the final season. Excuse me. And then there's going to be another spin off focusing on Daryl and Carol. Two of fan favorite characters. So there's like Fear the Walking Dead, The Walking Dead Beyond, Worlds Beyond, I should say, and then Carol Daryl Adventure. Um, so this one is season 10, episode 17, titled "Home Sweet Home," and it marks the return of Maggie Green. We saw Maggie Green at the previous episode when she showed up at the nick of time to save what's his name? Father Gabriel, Reverend Gabriel, however you want to call it. Maggie's badass masked friend is the one who rescued him, and now she's back, fully back. I got a few thoughts first about the actress Lauren Cohan. Just a refresher, if you recall, Lauren Cohen played Maggie for a lot of seasons of The Walking Dead, and then she left the show, I believe, because of pay dispute. You know, she asked for higher salary. Maybe, at least to my knowledge, she wanted to get paid the same amount as Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus, who are the leads. Maggie was always more of a supporting. But AMC is like, no, no, we're not gonna pay you the same as the leads, and so she left, and she did this show called Whiskey Cavalier, and a lot of people liked it, but I didn't. So I guess it's to each his own kind of thing. But and then when the show got canceled, she's like, all right, let's go back to renegotiating again. Let's renegotiate my pay, my deal, and apparently they come to an agreement. And now Lauren Cohen is back. I'm guessing, because I don't know the details of their agreements, but I'm guessing that now Andrew Lincoln is out of the picture, and Danielle Gurira Michonne is also out of the picture. That she gets paid now as the lead. You know, she gets paid the same amount as Norman Reedus, because with those, with those people that I mentioned out of the picture, Maggie, the character Maggie, steps up now, as part of the more of a key characters, if you will, even more so than she has already been before. So I'm guessing that's why she wanted to come back. In addition to the fact that her other show got canceled, so I'm happy. I like Maggie. And I love Lauren Cohen. Superficially, because I think she's so hot damn attractive. And we all remember her storyline, right? With Glenn, Stephen Yeun's character, and that Negan killed Glenn. So at the start of today's episode, there's that tension, awkward tension between Maggie and Negan. Um, how many years have passed? I want to say 6 or 7 years, if you will. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And Negan has rehabilitated himself. You know, he has reformed himself. He has become one of the good guys. He even helped Alexandrians kill Alpha. Um, so in a way, you can argue that Negan has redeemed himself. But Maggie doesn't know that. Maggie doesn't know that. She doesn't have that knowledge. She's learning about it now, but there's still that animosity, if you will, in the air. And by the end of today's episode, you could tell that because there's a shot of Negan looking at Maggie from a distance. Not in a vengeful, resentful kind of way, but just looking at her, like wondering, oh my God, is she gonna be problematic? Do I have to look over my shoulder? You know what I'm saying? Am I have to be cautious now? I mean, what about Maggie's friend, the badass masked man, or the other guy with the ponytail? Do I have to worry about them? Do I fear for my safety now? So that's probably what's going through Negan's mind now. So very interesting to see how that plays out in the subsequent episodes. Um, I want to ask you something too. Also, at one point, I think you could see it from the thumbnail image here that I share with you. At one point, there's this action-packed scene where Maggie and Daryl and the masked man, I think his name is Elijah, they try to close this. What's the word I'm looking for here? This container. There you go, container. As you can see in the image, and at one point, one of the zombies scratched Maggie. She kind of, she was bleeding a little bit there, and they managed to close the container. But the next scene, she's like healing her wound, and I'm curious. I thought that if you get scratched, I get it. That probably only works for vampires. But I thought it also worked for a zombie. I thought if it doesn't have to be a zombie doesn't have to bite you in order for you to turn into a zombie. Sometimes can it be a scratch too? The scratch count? I don't know. I don't know what the rule book is on blood scratch like that, because I would think that kind of stuff is infectious. You know what I'm saying? Unless she got the scratch from the container, not necessarily from the zombie's fingers or the nails. Um, but yeah, that kind of like makes me wonder, like, does that count as something that could turn you into a zombie, the same as bite? But that's a thought to think about. Um, in this episode, we're also introduced to a group of new villains called the Reapers. I've never read much of the comic books. I don't know if the Reapers were part of the comic books. You can probably correct me on that, or fill me in on that. But the idea is the Reapers are like enemies that you can't really see. They're like, unlike the Whisperers or unlike the Governor's peoples. They're like, the Reapers are stealthy, sneaky bastards. You know what I'm saying? kind of like uh, kind of like ninjas. I mean, this guy they got captured at the end, and then he blows himself up. He's more of a he strikes me more of a zealot. Like, if somebody's willing to go that far, instead of being questioned, that means he's a radical. He's like, hey, I'd rather die than to give you single information. And that willingness to die, it makes him or them even more dangerous, because there's no instinct to survive or instinct to want to live. It's like, it's you'll never get me to say anything. Boom, and that's scary. That dude has some crazy sniper, sharpshooter, whatever you want to call it, skills. It was insane. I was like, dude. And it was tricky too when he left his post like that. You could tell that this guy is very This guy is very savvy when it comes to guerrilla or like hiding and attack without being expected. It's just the guy's got skills. Mad props. Sometimes you gotta admire your enemy or your villain or your bad guy, and that is one bad guy that I can admire, definitely. Um, so it'll be interesting to see also how that plays out with the Reapers. Every group of villains on The Walking Dead, whenever they come around, usually follow the same formula. You know, either with the saviors or the whisperers or the or governors people. There's always that arc that's like a pattern that's predictable on you know and I hope that this time with the Reapers, in these next 6 episodes, I hope the writers come up with something that's that doesn't follow suit with that pattern. Something more surprising. You know what I'm saying? It's already showing that signs or indicating that sign with the fact that the Reapers are are good at like, are more skilled, apparently or seemingly so than the other groups. But I just hope that the writers come up with a more interesting arc than the saviors or the whisperers or the other guys that have gone before them. Because if they only work with 6 episodes, it's not like a 13 episode thing. There's only 6 episodes left. Then they gotta make this count, man. They really gotta make this memorable, and I hope they do. Um, but yeah, the Reapers are stealthy AF. The masked badass. I want to talk a bit, just a tiny bit, because he did kind of open his mask and he showed himself as Elijah. I believe that's his name, and that is a pleasant surprise in my book. I'm Asian. I always tell you guys that sometimes I get frustrated that my people, the Asian actors in Hollywood or Asian community in Hollywood, sometimes, the stereotype is that we get cast in roles that, just do martial art, badass combat stuff, and we don't speak a lot. You know what I'm saying? so, so I thought that the masked man would be Asian. I really thought, honest to God, I thought I was like, oh, here's another Asian, that they're gonna hire just for the kung fu, for the combat, for the hand to hand skill stuff. So when it turns out it's not Asian, I was like, oh, that's a cool twist. And I forgot that the Walking Dead is the show that also beats stereotypes. For example, Steven Yeun, he was one of the key characters. He's not just there to play scientist or just to play, martial arts stuff. He was, there's drama, substantive stuff to his role. So gotta give the show credit for the casting of this masked man, and I'm looking forward to getting to know him better. To know about what his background is, what led him to befriending Maggie, and all that good stuff. Which leads me to Maggie itself. There's a point in this episode where Maggie shares with Daryl what has happened to her these past, I don't know, 6, 7 years, when she was away. And she spoke about Herschel, her son, which of course is named after her grandfather, and all that. Those are all good stuff, okay? But I have the feeling, I don't know if you got the feeling as well, but I have the sense that she's not sharing the whole big picture. I think there's more to her story than she is willing to, say at the moment. Um, I get that. She hasn't met. Not she hasn't met. She hasn't seen Daryl and Carol and all these guys for years now. So it's understandable if she has some, distrust issues or suspicion. Maybe I shouldn't tell them the whole thing yet. It seems that she's only willing to share just a few bits of information. My sense is that as these next 6 episodes progress, there's gonna be some revelations along the way about Maggie that we may not like, or we may be like, oh no, that puts her in a gray area instead of the good guys. But that's just my guess at this point. And which leads me to my last my last thing. I tweeted this just now. I said that, can you see it? Maggie's son, Herschel, kind of looks like Indiana Jones's little sidekick, Short Round, especially with that cap on. He kind of does. He kind of looks like Short Round. You know Short Round, right? Well, have you forgotten Short Round? All right, let me show you Short Round. Indiana Jones Short Round. Of course, Short Round is more playful and sarcastic and like blunt at times. We don't know much about how they're gonna do this character Herschel. This is only the first time we've seen him at this age. But yeah, appearance wise, he kind of reminds me of Short Round. And that's a compliment. I love Short Round. People don't give Short Round enough credit. I think if you make a list of top 10 all-time greatest cinema sidekicks, I think Short Round will be on the top 5, at least, up there, among the best. So so that's it. Those are all the things that I have on my notes about today's episode. It's so, I'm glad to have the show back. Like tonight, I was wondering, what am I gonna watch? I got nothing to watch tonight. After dinner, I was like, and then I saw the tweet. I was like, oh my God, The Walking Dead is on. So I was like, all right. So now there's something on Sunday nights again. Of course, next week will be the Golden Globes. So it's good that we got to see, or we got this first of the 6 episodes out of the way, So then when next Sunday comes around, we can just watch the Golden Globe without having to, bother this Home Sweet Home episode. So yeah, that's another good thing as well. So let me know your thoughts about this episode. If you've watched it as well, do you agree or disagree with my assessment? Are you glad that Maggie's back? Do you think that Maggie might be harboring some secrets? What are your thoughts about the Masked Man? And what are your thoughts about the Reapers? And what's your theory of what's going to happen in the subsequent episodes going forward? Let me know your thoughts about this, all of this, in the comment section down below. And as always, subscribe, and let's rock this.